Welcome to the Voices for Voices podcast, sponsored by Redwood Living. Thank you for joining us today. I am Justin Allen Hayes, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, host and humanitarian. You can learn more about Voices for Voices on our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and our website, voicesforvoices.org. Voices for Voices is a 501c3 nonprofit charity organization that survives solely on donations. So if you are able to, please consider heading over to voicesforvoices.org and help us continue our mission and the goal and dream to help 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. Or you can send a donation to the mailing address of Voices for Voices at 2388 Beckett Circle, Stowe, Ohio, 44224. Are you looking for a volunteer opportunity? Great. You can reach out to us today via email at president@voicesforvoices.org. I founded Voices for Voices to provide a platform for folks to share their stories with others as we work together to break the stigma around mental health, accessibility, and disabilities, helping people get the help they need while also helping and working with them to prepare and or transition into the workforce with the Voices for Voices Career Center, where we connect talent with opportunity for job seekers and employers alike, from coast to coast and in every industry and job level. In today's episode, I am proud to announce the 2023 Voices for Voices menu of services, where individuals and organizations can work closely with us in our mission to help others, specifically 3 billion people in my lifetime and beyond. So today, very excited to be able to share with everyone, both online, both on television, both audio, everywhere, our 2023 menu of services. When we were putting this together, the question always came up, we don't want this to look like a menu at a restaurant. What exactly is a menu? So we chose the word menu because there are many different ways you, an organization, can work with us, and we can work together to help others. So you'll be able to find today on the voicesforvoices.org website what we call our menu of services for 2023. And we're asking you to help us to reach our goal in 2023. And so we do. We have a challenge to help as many people as possible. And so first, to start out, I like to mention the first area is volunteering. That one does not take money to do. There's the cost of the time that you would spend away from friends and family. But volunteering is one of the ways that I got started in Voices for Voices, and just in general, wanting to help others. And that was because I helped others in different projects, and the feeling that I would get after helping others, again, didn't have to be associated with a money donation. Time, working with Habitat for Humanity, or serving food at a local food kitchen to others. Just taking that time to share with others that may be in a tough situation and facing challenges that are tough to get through. So we find volunteering at Voices for Voices a lucrative goal, is to join together with as many people from the community in that quest. So we're able to help individuals keep the lights on when they're going through a tough time, pay for a recovery center visit that may be several days and maybe multiple months, to bring this podcast to you, to share not only my story and my experiences, but the stories and experiences from others. And that can be with in-person guests or with the Zoom guests that we're so happy to be able to provide, both here in Northeast Ohio and across the world, as you've seen in prior episodes, being able to bring individuals across the world that are facing, have faced, and are overcoming with what we call Voices for Voices, a brand new day. It's taking tough experiences and challenges and working through that in the best way that you and I can. It doesn't look the same for everybody. Because somebody is smiling and looks like they're doing well, maybe that's just putting on that face. I know at times when I'm not feeling my best and I'm in maybe a little bit of a relapse into a depressive state, where all I want to do is sleep and not get out of bed and do the minimal part of kind of living that day. That can happen to people and individuals. And so that can affect an individual's ability to work. It could affect an individual's ability to earn income, to be able to have, again, the lights turn on when it's warm out, to have the air conditioning run, when it's cool out, to have the heat run, and things that I know I have from time to time taken for granted. So volunteering is where we like to start, because we feel that it's one of the easier areas to get started. It's not a huge commitment. You may be able to volunteer an hour or two a month, or maybe an hour or two a week. That is completely up to you. We understand the commitments, and as somebody that has a 4-year-old daughter and wants to spend as much time when she's not in school with her, I understand time is precious to spend with family, and so I completely, and we as a board and the volunteers that we have at this point, we understand that. So if volunteering is something that you might be interested in, just like at the beginning of the podcast, reach out, send an email to me at president@voicesforvoices.org. Let us know that you're checking out the podcast, and maybe there's a particular area that you have expertise in. We'd love to have you join us, help us, and reach as many people and help as many people. We also call donating gifting. So you might see that terminology, might hear that terminology from time to time on our website or on the podcast, because we feel that donating and gifting go really hand in hand. Donating, so let's say you're donating $1. So you donate $1, but you're also gifting that $1 to an individual who needs it. So it's going directly to, let's say an individual has a electric bill of $275 a month, and they've got behind on those payments, and they're really at the point where the electric company is saying, okay, if you don't pay, you don't bring us up to current, we're gonna have to turn your lights off. So that's where we feel gifting is another proper term to use. So you may see donate, you may see gifting. At Voices for Voices, we consider those synonyms, so words that mean very similar things. So how much? What are we looking for as an organization? I know as an individual, I like to be told what the ask is. So not just please donate or please gift. Outside of volunteering, maybe you're in a position and you have an annual giving plan in 2023. We would ask and we would love if you would join us in the mission to helping others. We understand that there are many phenomenal organizations, not only here in Northeast Ohio and Summit County, but across the nation and across the world. So we would be thrilled if you would be able to join in. For example, dollars, so if we're looking at what would that be for an individual or an organization, $500 to $2,000 would be kind of the two benchmarks. We do have expenses, so although we are a 501c3 federally recognized nonprofit, we do have expenses to be able to bring content to you with this podcast, with our annual A Brand New Day event in October, with other events that we want to put on here in 2023 and beyond, to expand the scope of not just one annual large event. We want to also have some maybe smaller events. And so what does that look like? A large event, so if we want to think about having 2 large events in 2023, a large event would be events that would draw 50 people, 50 attendees or more. And so these would be gatherings like we have with the A Brand New Day event. The first year we had at Walsh University in their Barrett Business Center. So we had a pretty broad, large space to be able to bring that to you. And then this past year, we had the A Brand New Day event in 2022 in October at the Canton Performing Arts Center. And so we had larger space, many tables, many chairs, and so we drew close to 75 or so individuals. But the great part about Voices for Voices is your company, your organization is not just reaching those, let's say, 75 attendees. You're also reaching individuals who are checking our social media accounts out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. And we have followers and people that have interest, as you've seen with a previous episode, having a guest from Australia, and we're planning to have another guest that's in the works that also resides on the western half of Australia. And so to be able to do those things and get that information and content to them, there are costs that go with that. But the great thing about being a sponsor is you get your name on, let's say you get your name on name and logo on the website. You get your name and logo on any literature, so any brochures to go out, any one-pagers that go out. You get mentioned in the podcast. So at the beginning of each podcast, you'll hear me mention that we're sponsored by Redwood Living. For those who don't know, Redwood Living is one of the biggest housing authority organizations in Northeast Ohio and beyond, and they're growing. And so an organization does not have to be mental health related or behavioral health related. I know with Redwood, having that relationship with them, they have mental health services that they offer to their employees, but as an organization, mission and vision, they deal with real estate, they deal with apartment complexes. That's kind of what they're centered on. So that's another area that I wanted to make sure I covered, because I get questions, many questions actually, now that I think about it, from different sources, is, well, my organization doesn't really fit that vision. We don't fit in that industry that you're working and you're focusing on. So number one, I would say we all have mental health. If we're human, we have mental health. So I would say that first. And then secondly, reaching an audience that maybe you haven't reached before. I know with organizations, the number one thing to do is to increase profit and profitability and continue to grow. And those go hand in hand. Increasing profitability and increasing customer base. And to be able to do that, you may want to reach out of a comfort zone. And so working with an organization like us, it may be helpful. And what I would like to cover now is many organizations help individuals get into treatment and identify what treatment looks like, how many days, medication, and all those things. That's only really the first part. There's also that second half on the back end is when you're released. When I was released from the hospital in my 5-day inpatient stay at the Akron General Hospital, I had a good support system, but I really didn't have a huge aftercare program. I had some therapy to go to a few days a week, but it wasn't 24 hours a day. So there was time that if I didn't have the support, then I'd be left on my own, and maybe my thoughts might go back into that super depressive state that I found myself in. So we want to think about that with individuals as well. Is okay, getting somebody to treatment, to be seen, that's part of the equation. But what we want to do as an organization and what we are doing, in fact, I just came from a visit from a treatment center. We're going to have one of their executives on a future podcast episode, is they have the beds in the facility that when an individual is released from treatment, so they offer the treatment, and they also offer at the back end with individuals to have a place to stay. So have a bed to rest on, to have heat and air conditioning, and have a room while they're going through those tough initial phases once they're outside of that initial recovery area. And they're helping people look for jobs and transition. So that branches into what we also do, is helping individuals not just say, I want to go be a truck driver. That's great, but do you have do you have the CDL license? Do you know where to apply to get that? And do you even have a driver's license in general? Is there a hold on if an individual is incarcerated or their license is suspended for other reasons? All those are things that it takes time for individuals and professionals to sit down face to face. And so those types of services are some of the services that Voices for Voices is covering and wants to cover more with more individuals. So that's where you can think of dollars from a donation or gifting go to. So when you see $500, wow, that's a lot to some. Maybe it's not to others. $500 when you think about what rent would cost for one person in a one bedroom apartment, food, medication, just kind of the basics. That's what we're talking about. So we would think of $500 covering one person's bed in kind of their apartment setup in their treatment for 1 month. So if you can think of it like that. If you're trying to equate, okay, so what exactly would $500 go to? So $500 would be gifting an individual the opportunity to be cared at for an extended period of time after a detox, after being in the inpatient, what they call an inpatient at a hospital or treatment center. So getting those individuals that help is the dollars. Events. So talked about having 2 large events and 3 smaller events. Smaller event, maybe 10 individuals from all walks of life getting together, maybe at Top Golf for a couple hours and talking and chatting and just networking and talking to each other. And so sponsoring an event like that would also get you the opportunity to sponsor the podcast, would get your logo on the website, to be going out to when we have press releases, is what we're going to start doing for 2023. I just sent out the press release for the year in review for 2022 and detailed all the things that we were able to accomplish. And when I took a step back from that and looked at that, I was really amazed. When you're in the weeds, as I call it, the day-to-day, trying to just do as many things as possible to help. I didn't realize all the ways that our organization and our donors are helping individuals, and so I would invite you, check that out. It's on our social media. It's also on a blog post on our voicesforvoices.org. So you'll see those posts going forward, and we'd love to have a guest blog. So if you're if as an organization, a donation could go towards that, having a guest blog talking about your organization and how it's branching out and how it's positively affecting employees, the community. Those have opportunities too to think about. Again, we're sponsored, and now that I look at it, kind of my notes, really bringing back to earth, really, to think about is, we're sponsored by one of the largest housing authorities in the state of Ohio. And so what do they get? They get everything. So they get name on the podcast. They get name as prime sponsor for our events, for individuals in person, for individuals viewing live stream. So just to give you an idea, we had, I believe, 30 people come to our first annual A Brand New Day event in person. We had 300 people from across the world view that live stream on YouTube. This past year, the attendance increased in person, and we're at, I believe, 244 views and downloads on our YouTube channel. And again, those are coming from not just Northeast Ohio, not just people in the mental health, behavioral health fields, coming from people from every industry you can think of. And so that's where Redwood Living, as an example, they get their names on that. And those are in perpetuity, so that's a word I have a tough time saying. But what that basically means is with podcasts, with the live streams, those are out there forever until YouTube shuts down and shuts us down. Until that point, that information is out there. So you're going to be linked in a positive fashion with Voices for Voices on podcasts. So podcasts like this, we're sponsored by Redwood Living. And so this is going to be everywhere. It's going to be on TV as you're viewing. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on all the audio platforms you can think of. There's going to be transcripts out there. It's going to be everywhere. So if you think of all those things, and as we're in 2023, I know that we're in the February and March episodes, but every week having that opportunity to have the name of your organization stated a time or two on television, let alone all the other forums and platforms, is a pretty good benefit. So I would invite you to think about that. And as an individual, if you want to be a silent donor and not be associated name-wise, we do that as well. So we have donors that like to remain anonymous, and we honor that. We call it cost for caring. So that could be donating, that could be sponsorships, that could be investing in the long-term vision of opening up a facility, a treatment facility that is free. I mentioned many times before, the big overarching goal that I have for our organization is to have a facility where all the behavioral health, mental health, all that is free for individuals. They can walk in off the street and be taken care of. They can travel from out of state. They can travel from out of country, and all those expenses would be taken care of, like St. Jude's does for children with cancer. And so that's where I'm at, is making a big difference, making a big splash, and truly helping people from A to Z, from that beginning stage of somebody walking off the street, I need help. What do? I don't know if I have insurance or Medicaid, and I don't know how all that works. We don't want an individual to have to worry about that. And so that's where you come into play in helping to get to that point. So we have, again, short-term things that we're doing monthly. We're helping individuals keep the lights on, have a bed, have an apartment as they're going through the back end of recovery. And then also looking at long-term vision of securing a building from scratch, having land, staffing the building, staffing and investments in the medicines and being able to pay those individuals that are helping. So that's where we think of kind of short term and long term. We also have we call kind of the monthly way of giving. So for $200 for 6 months, you would be tied to, and I say in a positive way, to everything we do for those 6 months. So we're talking 4 podcasts a month times 6 months, so that's 24. That's not to mention also the other events that we hold, that your name will be tied to that. My mind is actually just blown and thinking of all the different ways that organizations and Redwood, and I keep going back to Redwood because they bought into us at the very beginning. We were an organization that had at $0, we were just holding one event a year, and they bought into us and my vision of what we want to do. And so I am very thankful for that. And as an organization, speaking for the board and all our supporters and donors, we just can't thank you enough for helping. And again, the dollars and cents and the time volunteering, it goes to real things, real people. It doesn't just go into a vacuum. And that's why being a 501c3 federally recognized charity was very important for me and for the board to make sure that we're set up from a kind of a paperwork standpoint, but then being able to grow to the point that we're in a TV studio coming to you, broadcasting our podcast. So I invite you to check out our website, voicesforvoices.org. Reach out to me, president@voicesforvoices.org. Help us reach our goals of helping as many people as we can in 2023 and beyond. Thank you very much, and we are very happy and growing at a pace that I didn't expect. We're outpacing where I thought we would be after just one year of having a 501c3 status. So thank you, and thank you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Voices for Voices podcast. Until next time, I am Justin Allen Hayes, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, host and humanitarian. Until next time, have a great day, and please be a voice for yourself or somebody in need.